Hello and welcome to X-Men, the animated series revisited, the podcast. It's a podcast where me, Dan Bain, and my longtime associate and gentleman friend, Hakeem.
Hello.
Hello, here he is. We revisit the X-Men animated series from the 1990s as full-grown adults in order to find out if it still holds up. Is it still good? Do we still like it? At the 20 years on. 20 years on. Is it still
mate, it's coming up to 30.
It's coming up to 30. I'm older than I knew.
We are old as fuck, man. I just got to remember,
cut
everyone that
10 years off my life.
Everyone that remembers the series, you probably had this thing that happened to us because we're probably about the same age, where in the 2000s you're like, oh, the 90s were 10 years ago, and then you thought that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it just kind of sticks.
Yeah,
like sometimes I'm like, oh, what? It must have been like, oh no, must have been like what, 15 years ago. Never
You
gets
wish.
up to 20. Yeah,
you wish.
I wish 15. 30 years on it is. Well,
I know,
gracious.
but you know what? Because this is weird, because Dan didn't really watch many of the episodes. I think I watched pretty much all of them. Or, you know, there's a few nuggets that are still waiting to be found. But I feel like I might be just riding on pure nostalgia. I actually can't look at these objectively anymore because the nostalgia is too high. You know? It's like I've been taking shots of nostalgia all night, and then someone's asked me to drive the rationale train, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I really can.
Yeah.
You know, this nostalgia's coursing through my body pretty hard. I wouldn't trust me with anything objective right now.
I'm like, oh boy, the animation on this one's not that great. And you're like, yeah, but, you know, for its time and the constraints, they had cash flow issues. That was the studio, not the creative vision.
Exactly. If it looks a little fuzzy, just have some shots of nostalgia. That'll clear that right up.
It's really gonna just
get the fuzzy
get some
vision.
eyedroppers and just drip it right in your eyes.
Yeah, here are some 90s tinted glasses. Put those on.
We're up to episode 9 of the first season. This is 9 of 13, by the way, just for those of you who are keeping track of how long we've got to go in this season. So we're past the halfway point, and we're about to do an episode called The Cure.
The Cure. And what an action-packed season so far, man. Like we said, every episode, there's been no end. Every episode has always been a to be continued. I know I say this every week, and you're going, shut up, Harv's going to talk about it's always to be continued. It is! It's amazing! 9 seasons in. No, sorry, 9 seasons. 9 episodes in. Fuck it, they'll probably still be doing it in 9 seasons. They'll pick up when they get to X-Men 97.
Nine episodes, one continuous story, nothing really kind of... Some things that are definitely kind of contained storylines, but they always take the time and the care to buckle it into the overarching storyline. So,
that's it.
Yeah, very impressive, where they could very easily just be like, yeah, and this episode, Wolverine goes to Alaska.
Yeah. They could have done that,
That's
but
it.
no, it's all
That's
part of
it.
a grander saga, and it keeps going. Yeah. And these characters carry through their emotions from the previous episodes. Guys, it's so fucking progressive for a show that's 30 years old. Anyway, let me remind you, what happens in The Cure? So much of this one. Any English band fans out there, you've come to the wrong podcast. It's not that kind of cure. It is the cure for the mutants. What we open with introducing Warren Worthington III, a.k.a. Angel, in a kind of chalet in the European mountains somewhere undisclosed. I'm guessing Switzerland. Who knows? Anyway, Cable shows up and he's looking for a Dr. Adler. Dr. Adler is the person that has manufactured a cure, so to speak. Is it real? Can it really help mutants take away their powers? Who's going to want it? Well, Cable and Angel have a little scuffle. Angel flies off into the night. Now we go to Muir Island and we find out that Moira McTaggart has been helping Dr. Adler with his work there for developing this cure. Professor X is there. He tried to read his mind, but he's blocked by forces of evil and darkness. I don't know, there's something weird going on there. Cut back to the X-Men. They're rebuilding the mansion from the last episode where Juggernaut fucked it all up. And they find out from the professor there's a guy with a cure. And turns out this episode's it focuses around Rogue, because Rogue's the one who's like, if there's a cure, I think I want that. Long story short, Rogue goes to Muir Island to track down Dr. Adler to try and get the cure so she can feel the touch of a human. Is that too much to ask? I don't think it is. Anyway, We find out from here that Dr. Adler is actually Mystique in disguise, and she's working for Apocalypse, and this cure is nothing more than a facade that's going to turn mutants into slaves of Apocalypse. Leave with a little cliffhanger ending of what's going to happen to Warren Worthington III. At the end of the episode, she helps Jean and Cyclops be saved and be together, and realizes that her powers can be used for good, and she decides to sacrifice her own feelings for that greater good. Go you, Rogue. Go you. That's basically it.
That's basically it, yeah.
How'd you feel about this episode, Dan?
This episode... Not one of my favourites, but a lot going on. A lot of... it's quite busy. There's quite a lot... There's quite a lot going on. They're trying to jam a lot in.
Do you feel it's too rushed? Do you feel it's too packed?
I do feel it might be a little bit packed, which, we've seen work, but it is difficult to kind of pack as much. I think they go for speed rather than density, if that makes sense, in how they're trying to pack everything in.
There's a lot of shit in there. I mean, I think the heart of this episode is Rogue's feelings and wanting, she's the plot device going through. She's the X-Man that wants to get this cure because I want to feel a touch of a human. I want to feel love.
That's right. She really is kind of craving a connection to.
You can't blame her for that, Dan.
You can't blame her.
Are you going to throw Rogue's feelings under the bus of it? This episode's too busy.
I think it should be focused more on just Rogue's feelings. I think
I'd buy that.
Like it's got to have shooting and fighting, I guess, to be like, oh, it's exciting. But as a grown up, I'm like, no, you know what's an equally exciting beat of dramatic action is watching Rogue attempt to grapple with her feelings and the lack of intimacy that she experiences.
Tuck into your cornflakes, kids, and watch the inner struggle of this woman who's never felt the touch and craves the relationships of those around her.
Not just emotional intimacy, because I feel like she has that. We're talking physical intimacy, children. Physical intimacy. That's the
right.
problem.
Otherwise, it's just like petting your cat with a glove on. Like, what is that?
Yeah, it does nothing for her.
I loved the opening of this one in Warren Worthington III's chalet. It opens in the most... Like, if there was an animation of like a 70s style porn opening, it's very much this. Tell me the first 5 seconds of this episode could not have gone down. Bong chicka wow wow. You've got a chalet in the Alps.
They're on like a bearskin rug
in front of the fire.
In front of the fire, they've got a glass of. They've both got these full balloons of Merlot.
Like the music as well.
Yeah.
It's all pointing towards what are we watching here? What's about to happen?
It will dip in these moments of we all know what we're talking about here. Like these are full grown adults.
That's right, kids. Yeah, I don't see anyone else in this chalet. And so we're introducing to Angel here, and Angel, this is quite a big thing for this series to just kind of pull away to a totally different character no one's ever seen before as the opening. They are introducing Angel, who was a big player in the comic books. Angel was one of the original X-Men in the 1963 launch. And in 1963, you could have a power that was just, I have wings and fly. That was it. That was good enough to be on a team. In the 90s, maybe we wanted a bit more. So Angel has always been a bit of a hard sell. Like, you fly, so do half the team.
Yeah, and also, you actually have to physically fly. Like, most of the others just kind of levitate.
Yeah, right? He can't fly in the middle of a lounge. Like,
in
the middle of a mall. He can't do that.
No, it's like when a bird gets inside.
He gets very startled.
He just starts knocking things over.
Yep.
Like, my lamp!
I remember reading about Angel, and they tried to... when I looked into his powers and stuff, you could really see they were trying to make him like, what else can we give him? He's like, and they said, oh, his bones are like quite light, like that of a bird, and somewhat hollow, and his eyes are very resistant to wind as he's flying through at high velocity. He's like, dude, he's a bird. He's a bird. His weakness is breadcrumbs. Leave it at that. Like, he doesn't. Who wants him on the team? Yeah. So I think they're really leaning into his human sides, so to speak, the rest of his background of Warren Worthington III. He's an incredibly wealthy man, incredibly, sexy, sought after bachelor, which is why you got this German chick throwing herself at him.
It kind of tracks with the journey that we're going to go on with him of being like, I want to get rid of my mutant powers because they're shit.
Yeah. I want to get out of shame.
Yeah. It's so embarrassing. I'd love awesome powers, but I'm a bird. I'm a bird. What have I got? I've got like a real fast moving neck.
Do you think when he was like in front of the fire with this girl, he was thinking like, I would totally go all the way with this chick, but she's gonna see my wings soon.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, I hope she doesn't want to get on top because my fragile, hollow bird bones. I don't know if they're gonna take the weight.
I want to do it with the lights off, and I want to do it with my jacket on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Cable shows up, and they have a little like kind of. This is kind of like very James Bond-esque. The the mercenary coming to get you, and they have the fight in the lab. What I felt was stupid, like when they were just making Warren look really savvy, he gets Cable behind a bookshelf, and they're having a little like, "Oh, you're gonna get me," and Warren pulls out a gun and shoots a book to try. Like it looks like he's trying to shoot Cable, but he like shoots an encyclopedia, like a very thick book. You're like, I don't know what kind of gun you're firing, but it's not going to get through that, mate.
Yes, especially because they're all armed with these concussive lasers that kind of makes pretty much any type of cover super cover.
Yeah.
like
I held up a book.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to reach for the E entry in the encyclopedias. That's the thickest. Yeah.
There's a cool moment here where at kind of the end of this fight, I guess Cable is thrown like a concussion grenade or a flashbang or something.
Yeah.
And Angel lands on the balcony, and the girl that he's trying to
not fuck.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep on the line.
Can't see, and she shoots him, and then he flaps off into the distance.
But first, I thought you'd appreciate this. Remember, she shoots him off the balcony, and he falls into the snow with comedy imprint.
Yes.
Yeah. So he flaps off into the distance.
Yeah, he flaps off, and we don't see her again. Like,
unfortunately,
not.
She was. I think her night was done with like, well, I don't think we're going to go all the way, and also a mercenary turned up at his house, and then he sprouted wings. What's she telling her girlfriends? But girl, I went to his house, and it was going really well, and then he hears something in his lab, and it turns out a mercenary. They fight, and it turns out he's got wings, and he flew off into the distance.
I accidentally shot him. I shot him right in the chest.
I left him a message on his machine, but I don't think he's going to call me back. By the way, when we cut to Muir Island and Professor X tries to read Dr. Adler's mind, who's actually Mystique, he has a little trouble there. We get a flash of Apocalypse and Mystique, and he has a little kind of freak out. And I did mention I was kind of gliding through on the nostalgia. This is some of the worst animation I've ever seen of Charles Xavier having a seizure. It really looks like they've just JFK back and to the left, back and to the left, repeated at high frame rate, and it looks awful. It looks a little bit Uncanny Valley.
So he's on Muir Island where he's friends with Moira McTaggart.
Yes, in the comics they were married.
Ah, okay.
I mean, they're estranged, but they're married.
Yeah, in this, she is clearly modelled on Shirley Manson from Garbage.
Yeah.
It's just like... She's got this thick Scottish accent and funky red hair.
Yeah. Is that why she's in Scotland? She's only happy when it rains?
She's only happy when it rains, yeah.
How'd you find this Scottish accent, Dan?
It's all right.
Dan is of Scottish descent, so he can be a judge on this.
Oh yeah, I've kind of been surrounded by that for most of my life. I didn't think it was bad, actually, to be honest. Sometimes Scottish accents are kind of excruciating. Where it's like, what are you doing? You really just like you're just making kind of a mangled noise and being like, that's it, right? It should sound a little bit mangled. That's part of the charm, but you got to mangle it the right way, I guess. But I think
I will vouch for this. Dan knows what he's talking about. Dan's dad had one of the thickest Scottish accents I think I've ever heard in my life, and it was just a glory to behold.
Yeah. The number of times where he'd just be like, he'd come home and he'd be like, I was having this conversation with whoever, and they. Everyone's smiling and nodding and kind of like, oh, we're all having a good time. And he's like, yeah, they had no idea what I was saying. So that's what I said to them. He'd just be like, you've got no idea what I'm saying, do you? And they'd be like,
yeah, smile.
What can I say?
But while we're talking about the voice acting in this, later on we meet Pyro, who's British. And as soon as he opened his mouth, he was like, I'm Pyro, and I'm from London. I was like, whoever this voice actor is not set foot in the UK. I looked at it. It's this guy called Graham Haley, who was born in Africa and then moved to Canada. And if you just want to hear, it's our generation's Dick Van Dyke, in Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Pyro's accent is awful.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm gonna make a choice. And I'm gonna go hard. Is everyone cool with that? Is everyone? I'm gonna really place him. I'm gonna really place him.
Don't worry, I've got a few English slang words that'll really anchor my performance.
Yeah. Does anyone mind if I'm just gonna switch out a couple of words here and there, just for flavour, just for the character. Everyone's like, oh, he's very. Oh, look at. Oh,
blimey.
Yeah.
It reminds me of do you remember years ago? I think I'd been in London for about 2 years, and I came back to Christchurch, and we were at a party, and someone introduced me to a girl who she was like, "Oh, so and so's been in London as well for a little bit," and she'd been there for about the same time, and she was like, "Hello, I've been living in London."
That's right. I remember that. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like an actress, and we found out she'd like maybe done a toothpaste commercial over here. And I was like, oh, wow, how long have you been living in London? And she was like, I've been living in London for, about 3 years. And I was like, did you have a stroke while you were there?
Yeah. She did a terrible accent and had her voice box changed with a English donor.
With an AI bot from back then that thought this is what English people sound like.
No.
Right.
Embarrassing.
Did you like the? I did like. You know what, Alex, is seeing the X-Men reconstructing the mansion with their powers, because we saw in the previous episode some, not the previous one, when they were, being made to work on Genosha, mutants having to use powers for construction, but this time it was on their terms. It was with their consent.
Yeah. It is, and they kind of there's kind of this montage of them all kind of doing a good job. Like, it's like they've learnt how to do construction now from their period of enslavement.
Wolverine's going around telling everyone how to do things, I think, and then giving Gambit a bit of a hard time. And then Gambit decides to charge one of the bricks that Wolverine's about to use. And then Cyclops shoots it out of the way. And Wolverine again comes back with, he goes like, yeah, someone keep this Cajun away from me. Like, that's pretty slurry there, Wolverine.
He loves to pull the racial slurs on Gambit.
He loves it, mate. And Gambit just always eats it up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's pretty cool is Jean using her telekinesis to fire those nails into the board.
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
Yes. I did like
Not going to lie, I was a bit turned on by that. That was amazing.
Let's see some more of that in the field.
That's the deadliest she's been in this whole series.
Yeah, it's nailing this board onto the side of the building. Yeah, and then they get a phone call from Professor X, I guess on the TV, who's just like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm all right. You know how you guys were kind of worried that I was dead? I was just catching up with the old buddy. And he looks like absolute shit on the TV.
When you need to leave work and someone goes, "Oh no, we need that thing," and you just like bash it out in 1 minute. That's what the animator did for this phone call of Professor X.
Yeah, they've set all the thing up, and there's like all the characters are listening and and then someone's like, "Well, where's he? He needs to be on the TV."
Oh shit, Professor!
And they're like, "Are you out of your mind?" Yeah.
If someone
And also, that guy had never drawn Professor X before. He's like, Professor X isn't my guy.
Maybe on a cocktail napkin.
Yeah.
That would be better than what he did here.
Because he looks quite like a potato.
I think a potato would look better, mate.
Yeah.
Put some googly eyes on a potato. I would rewatch this series if someone had like superimposed a potato with googly eyes.
Every time.
Professor X.
Every time. Yeah. It's got the telekinesis lines kind of come out of the potato.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you like it when Rogue goes to Muir Island and she goes to the pub where there's other mutants there, and Pyro's got fire powers, if you didn't know. Funny thing about Pyro, he can manipulate the fire, he just can't create it, which is why he's got that like gas tank / flamethrower things coming out of his hands. He sees Rogue and decides, I'm going to hit on Rogue, and what he does is burns a chair.
Yeah.
He sets a chair on fire. He's like, I'm going to burn this pub down to get a pickup line in here.
Yeah, you like that?
You looking for a hot date?
Rogue is like, I'm out of here. And after seeing Jean and Scott canoodling, she's like, I'm out of here.
But not before Gambit tries to like have
yeah, exactly.
Tries to
Gambit
lay it on thick.
Really, is quite persistent here, and she's not having a bar of it, and drives off, and then, like, Gambit runs over the grounds, up over the wall, and drops into the convertible next to her, because
what a stunt.
He's persistent, and it's just to chat her up. It's not to, it's just like, hey.
Gambit is very much of that 90s ilk of like, if I just annoy her enough, one day she'll just give in.
Yeah.
Persistence is key with Gambit.
Yeah, exactly.
Over this episode and the next one, he's so horny, and she keeps going, I will kill you if we, if we do anything. I think he would honestly try to fuck a chainsaw. He's that horny, and he has little regard for his own personal safety.
I think it is once he kind of fixates on, he's like, oh, that's all that does it for me now. Oh, I don't care if it's lethal. I don't care. It's like, I'm a shark fucker now. That's nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Again, but I think that shark's not really into you. Oh, out of my
way. It will be. It will be. I'm charming as shit. Yeah. So she flies all the way to Scotland.
Well, she catches the lift on a jet.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. And there's a beautiful little homage to the Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, really?
The classic, like the one that first of all was made in the 50s, Twilight Zone with William Shatner, and then was remade with John Lithgow, which is Terror at 50,000 feet, and it's there's something on the wing. Do you know
that where that comes from?
Trope. It's there's something on the wing. Yeah, this guy. It's a Twilight Zone episode where this guy kind of keeps looking out, and there's a monster kind of tearing at the thing, and whenever anyone else looks out the window, they're like, it's gone, it's underneath it or something, and then it comes back out and starts ha ha ha. And he's like, there's something. He goes crazy inside the airplane. And there's a reference to that in this, where there's this guy kind of sitting at the thing and looks out, and Rogue is sitting on the wing.
Yeah, I know, but she's not tearing anything up. She's just sitting there
she's hitching a lift, just like. But the guy freaks out, and then the stewardess comes, and Rogue flies off, and then look back, and there's no one there.
Oh, the stewardess laughs at him. She laughs at him, sending him further into
exactly.
Despair.
Yeah,
I did not know there was a little nod to that.
Little nod, little classic TV reference there. Yeah,
there you go. I love that she's got like the Scotland handbook, and it's like got the outline of Muir Island, and she just kind of holds it up to the island she's flying over. And goes, "Oh yeah, that's it."
Yeah. She's got enough height that geography just mimics maps.
That's what we did before Google Maps, kids.
That's right. We got mutant powers and we flew above. we just needed to get up to 20,000 feet so we could see the island in its entirety.
What do you think of Mystique?
Great. I really like Mystique, and I think she's got a cool design. She's a cool looking mutant.
I thought you'd appreciate she does a lot of they've got a lot of cool shots where it's like you see her silhouette in a shadowy place, but so you see it's her, but the other people can't see in the shadows, and then she changes into who she needs to be to deceive them.
They're much more. But now that they, because we talked in Night of the Sentinels about when Morph was on the table.
Oh yeah, Morph.
How he had his distinctive laugh, and that was how we were kind of tracking who Morph was. With this, because Mystique's character, the character of Mystique, is pretty much just like, yeah, it's me, Mystique. I can change into things, and I've got plans. But she doesn't have a tick or anything like that. They have to be much more sophisticated with the visual storytelling of how we as an audience are tracking who Mystique is, and it leads to some really, as you say, some really inventive staging of
and she's
Mystique.
too cool to have a giveaway laugh. Like she's she's good at this game. She's playing it for a long time. She's not going to be caught out by going, I'm this person.
Yeah.
What was that? Nothing. Oh shit.
There's
a really cool bit where she turns half away from when she's talking to Rogue, and she's pretending to be this doctor, and there's a little shot where she turns away and half her face is Mystique in the shadows and half her face is the doctor.
Yeah, I think it might be in the next one.
That's the next. I'm gonna jump ahead. Sorry, these two episodes connect so. Closely.
I mean, it's 40 minutes. It's a 40-minute single episode, effectively. But yeah.
Do you know what I found really weird about this one? So Mystique is working for Apocalypse, and the first time we meet Apocalypse, if you know Apocalypse from the comics, he's a massive, massive villain. He's a big, big bad. He's a big player in a lot of things. And how do we first see him? Like, we get a flash of him in Professor Xavier's mind, but the first time we actually see him for real is he's been hiding behind the door waiting for Rogue to leave the lab. Mystique, bring her in, lure him. I shall hide myself behind this arras. I mean door.
Yes. Yeah.
Shh, don't tell her where I am.
He's we'll talk a bit more about him maybe in the next one where there's kind of featured, but at the moment he's very much kind of obviously the motivating force behind this particular plot. But yeah, he also seems to be one of those characters that kind of has, I've got all the powers.
He really does, and Apocalypse does. So Apocalypse is one of the most ancient mutants. He's been around since like ancient Egypt, and he's fused with a celestial being as well, which enhances his capabilities. Essentially, he can recreate his molecules to whatever the fuck he wants. So he can grow in size, he can shrink, he can generate things, make his limbs do different things, and also with his technological advancements, he can plug into things. Basically, he's just like you nailed it. He's got every power. He just does.
Okay, and we kind of see that over the next kind of.
I think his main power is delivery and evil tidbits constantly.
He's got some pretty good lines in terms of pronouncements of kind of his evil.
You think he's like that all the time? Do you think he ever takes it off? Do you think he's like at breakfast, like, what would you like? Apocalypse. I will destroy this bowl of cereal. Fill it with hope. I will drown it with the milk.
I assume when you kind of if you're a multiple 1,000-year-old, you just live the lifestyle now.
Pass the sugar flakes. I crave sweetness.
Exactly. It's just, you can't by that point, where does persona end and identity begin?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't want to invite Apocalypse at the barbecue. It just feels like he's always on. I just want him to chill out.
On. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he ever? No, I've never known him to not be. Well,
is this the extent of the ketchup?
it's like, yeah, but we do need him here because, like, he changes his hands into barbecue tools.
Who ordered extra crispy?
The searing of the flesh shall be my role.
Yeah, I'll take one. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Do you want a drink?
his
No!
His big plan is to turn mutants into slaves. I don't think he really needs slaves. Like it seems like he's got a lot of stuff, but anyway, he wants them, and he wants to get rogue. He almost gets rogue. By the way, when everyone goes for this cure, this procedure, they always kind of like restrain their wrists and ankles. I think anytime that's a big red flag. If you're going for any procedure and they restrain your wrists and ankles, I guess it's too late to run now. But that shit ain't going.
Just look at the table they want you to lie down on. Does it have these kind of single piece solid metal cuffs that come out? If so, it's only going to be bad for you.
There's no lollipop at the end of this for you.
At this point is when the episode kind of starts to fall apart a bit for me. Everything's kind of set up really nicely. We kind of know Rogue's got a really clear motivation for, like, take away my powers. She's in the location where this is going to happen. We know that there's a secret bad plan. That's also interesting and exciting. But then in kind of the last 10 minutes, just there's so much going on. There's these naughty mutants like Pyro and that other guy, Avalanche? Yeah. That guy from the pub up to Antics. They're going to do a kidnapping plot.
Oh my god, they do a cartoon sack over the head kidnapping.
They do a sack over the head kidnapping of Mystique. And they're like, oh, and then it gets revealed that it's Mystique, not Adler, that they were trying to get. Cable turns up and has this big fight with them as well. And then Xavier's there, and then Cyclops and Jean Grey turn up as well. And it's just, it all kind of turns into this multi-door French farce, like, oh, I just missed them. Out through the... She's out in the patio.
On a dinghy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get you. There's a lot happening, very short space of time.
Too many balls in the air. Yeah.
I do love the exposition dump from Pyro. Hold on, you mean your machine isn't curing them at all, is it?
Yeah.
It's turning them into slaves of Apocalypse. Bleeding hell.
I walked all the way up the apples and pears just to come and look at your machine.
You mean you were telling porkies to all the mutants? What? Yeah. I do like this little moment where Cable turns up and like he wants to shoot Adler because he's you can't be killing mutants, and he throws a grenade at Avalanche or someone else, I think. But he pulls the pin and he's holding the pin in his teeth. And then he throws a grenade, and then he spits the pin at Mystique's head. It's so demeaning. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah.
Patooey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, the ending of this one is very much, it's got to lead into the next one, and this is one of the most tightly packed two episode arcs that we've had in the series so far. It almost feels like you can't talk about this one without talking about the other.
You see that we've kind of several times kind of gone, oh, this is the one where this happens, and it's actually the next episode.
Yeah.
A lot of this is just setting up
Act 2.
It's all a big setup for Act 2, yeah. And you do get the sense that they're like, oh heck, we need to add an action set piece into this one for the sake of every episode we have an action set piece, which kind of explains the Scooby-Doo nature of put a sack over Mystique's head and steal her away. I feel like the writers, you can really see this moment where they mapped out this double episode, and then someone came in and was like, well, there's no action sequence in the first one, and they're like, Jesus Christ, all right, fine.
Oh, but Pyro sets a chair on fire when he's trying to hit on Rogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that will come up later. Rogue throws Pyro through a dartboard in the pub wall, and then throws Avalanche through another through another dartboard in the wall. That'll come into play later. Remember that.
Just tag that one for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Just go, I remember that happening. Yeah. What was your favourite part about this episode, Dan?
I think we really felt sympathy for Rogue in this episode. I think you genuinely kind of understand her frustration through it.
There was a flashback to the first time she kissed a boy.
That's right, yeah, and you kind of see how this has kind of been how it's had such an ongoing impact on her life and her kind of
I mean, everyone remembers their first kiss was like not great. It was your first kiss, but like no one was like, I put them in the coma.
I put them in a coma. Like, what did you do to them? I just gave them a little kissy. Yeah, I think that's kind of the strongest part of this for me is that, and I love the little nod to the Twilight Zone. I thought that was very fun.
That was good. I remember my first kiss was very wet. It was wetter than I thought it was going to be. My first kiss.
Yeah, right.
How was yours?
It was all right. It was under the Rutherford statue by the museum.
Oh, really?
You know the one? Yeah. And a bunch of cars driving past beeped the horn, which I found which was quite good. I quite enjoyed that. Like I was like, someone saw, and like was like, woo woo.
I kissed the girl, and you saw it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was probably the best part of it. And now I can't get an erection unless I'm in a traffic jam.
Which is why Dan loves traffic jams.
I love it.
Just causes them.
And I drive very slowly and conservatively. People hate it, but not me.
Yeah, those tinted windows are there for a reason, folks.
Very good. Okay, so and then we're left. We finish off the episode. Again, Cyclops and Jean kind of turn up and only really rub it in the face of Rogue. That they are still able to help each other, and she kind of ends this episode still on a bit of a downer, trapped forever in the prison of your mutant powers.
I know. You know what? For lingering so long on Rogue's like, oh, I want to get rid of this, I think she turns around pretty quickly to just going, no, I'm happy with my powers now. Anyway, the meat's going to be next week.
That's right. It's not our fault that this is a filler episode. We've tried our best, team. We've tried our best, but a lot of this, it's all set up. It's all set up with a couple of little moments, but we're mostly setting up for the meat of next week. So we'll see you back next week, and of course the easiest way to make sure that you are here next week is to subscribe to the podcast. You can do that wherever you found this podcast. If you're listening to it, the ability to subscribe is almost certainly there, so why not do that? Make sure you get every episode as it comes out. If you would like to see Hav or myself perform in a live context out in the real world doing stuff, that is a thing that we do very regularly, and you can find out where and how to do that on the internet. The internet is full of information, and the specific information you're looking for is in the notes to this show. There are a bunch of buttons. Push them, click them, visit us. We'd love to hear from you if you're nice. Leave a comment, leave a review. We'd love to have your validation. Just honk the horn on our making out. and
Bleeding
validate
hell, he's put in a callback.
He certainly has, and that's usually what you do at this. I'm sorry, I've stolen your role in the outro here, Harv. You were standing by with your accent, and I got one in there instead.
No, you crack on, lovely jubbly.
Cheers, Harv. See you next time.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Are podcasts too interesting? Especially if you use them to fall asleep. I'm Dan Bain, and all 4 seasons of my podcast, Sleepy Time Mumbles, are interesting enough to listen to, but not interesting enough to keep you awake. Sleepy Time Mumbles, a podcast you can miss, wherever you get your podcasts.